Type of spring that we are using is helical springs, that is under compression and also tension. The different equipments used include the spring testing machine, the tension and compression springs, then balance for getting the weight of the slotted weights, and the vernier calipers used to determine the diameter of the wire as well as the diameter of the coil. This figures show the different types of springs usually used for different types of applications. The first figure shows a helical compression spring, so which is wound to take compressive force. The distance between the coils is large compared to the second figure, which is also a helical spring, which is used to take up tension. It is called a helical extension spring. The third one is, so the springs are named after their shape. That means that if they are wound in a coil form, it is called a helical spring. So if the coils are wound in a conical form, it is called a conical spring. Then helical springs are also can be torsion springs, which is used to take up the torsion mainly. Then there are other types of springs called the leaf spring. That means it consists of different layers of springs in the form of a leaf. So these are usually used in vehicles, so heavy vehicles, etc. We can see the springs in the form of leaves that is provided in at the bottom of the vehicle. Then also the disc spring, which is in the form of a disc. Now coming to the principle, so the spring by its shape can undergo considerable amount of deformation without getting permanently distorted. So this property is utilized for different applications of the spring. So because of this large deformation, it can store strain energy. Then types of the springs based on the shape: helical springs, leaf spring, disc spring, or it can be conical spring, like that. So the helical spring that we are using for the experiment, it is the most commonly used mechanical springs. In this type of springs, a coil is wrapped in such a way that it resembles like a thread. That means it is wound round. If we wound round a rod, it will look like a coil. So this type of spring is used for carrying compression, extension, and also torque forces. Now we shall see the overview of different types of springs and their applications. The tension springs are also called the extension springs. Then the force applied is in the form of a pull. Then that will result into the extension of the spring. The second figure is the tension spring. So see the hooks, because by use of this, with the help of these hooks, we can fit the spring and the tension can be applied. Then the applications of this, so the lever mechanisms, see here the counterbalancing of garage doors, then weighing machine. So in the weighing machine means when we go for balances which are weighing larger weights. So I think in our lab itself we have a spring balance in our material testing laboratory, in which we are measuring the aggregates, the fine aggregates, coarse aggregates, etc. for preparation of concrete. So a spring, which is a tension spring, is provided that will pull, and we can measure the, which is connected to a scale, then we can read the load. Then compression spring is similar to a tension spring, but the difference is that see here the coils are closely coiled. That means wound coil closely, whereas here see some gap is there between the two adjacent coils. So these are usually used for motorcycle suspensions. So we are using it in the pen, then lock. So usually use the spring. So we know when we use the pen with a refill, and we can push and pull it. Also here we are using a spring, no, that is a compression spring. This is having very small thickness. Now the other spring also we can just pass through the applications. The torsion spring, in this type of spring the load is applied to the coil is a torque or a twisting force. Then the applications of this, see, clothespin, automobile starters, then door hinges. So these are all forms of torsion springs. Then spiral springs. The spiral spring is also known as a clock spring or constant force spring. So the applications come, see here the major application that the alarm in the timepiece, then watches. So springs are there. So such a spring is called a spiral spring. Then leaf spring, the major application is in the automobiles. Then this is also used by blacksmiths. I don't know what is that application, but automobile suspensions we are using this leaf spring. Then disc spring is also there. So that is because of its shape. That means a disc spring, conical spring washer. Then disc spring is also known as the Belleville washer or cupped spring washer. Then we have the volute or conical spring. This is also having the same pattern of the compression spring, but the shape is different. The spring is wound in the form of a coil, but having a conical shape. These are used to provide stability and reduce the solid height. So these are the two types of springs that we use for our experiment, that is the compression helical spring and extension or tension helical spring. Now the terms that we are using, so we are using the term pitch. Pitch means the distance between the adjacent coil is called a pitch, that is measured from the center of the material. Pitch is the distance between two adjacent coils measured from the midpoint of the spring material. Then another term is stiffness. Stiffness is the force required for unit deflection. That means if we plot the load versus deflection curve, then the slope of the curve will give you the stiffness, load divided by deflection. A particular load divided by its corresponding deflection, that is a stiffness. Then there is one more term called the spring rate, is the ratio of force required to deform a spring to the extent of deformity. So that term we are not using. We are using these two terms, pitch and stiffness, in our calculations. So this is the line sketch of the spring testing machine that we are using in the laboratory, in which we have the arrangements for holding the extension spring. That is the top portion. We have the extension spring, and below that we have a scale, and this lower portion is used for fitting the compression spring. Here in this diagram, the extension spring is in the fitted form. And the load that we are applying in the form of slotted weights. We have a hook, and this can carry the slotted weights which we can keep. So for every slotted weight, what is the corresponding deflection we can measure. So this scale can be either set to 0 or so that as the initial reading, or we can set to any marking, and we have to find the corresponding deflection by subtracting the initial reading. In the case of our experiment, our machine, the extension spring, when we put, we can make the reading initially 0 by adjusting this hook. So we can rotate it, pull up or down, so that we can make it 0. Whereas in the case of compression spring, such adjustment is not possible with respect to our machine. So this is the photograph of our machine. Here also, see, this is the portion in which we are fitting the extension spring. So both the springs cannot be simultaneously fitted and take the reading. But first of all, fit either the compression or the tension spring, take the readings, then remove it, then fit the other spring. That is the procedure. So this top portion we can use for fitting the extension spring, and the bottom portion, this one is used for fitting the compression spring. So this hook, here we are keeping the slotted weight. Now coming to the parameters or the terms that we are using. See here, we are using different symbols, capital D, small p, then alpha, etc. We shall see what are they. The capital D means it is the mean diameter of the coil. So the coil means from the center of this coil to the center of the extreme. So inner and the outer end. So from center to center distance of the wire, that is called the mean diameter. So that we cannot measure directly. There are two ways in which we can find out the mean diameter. One is measure the outer diameter and the inner diameter using a vernier calipers and find the mean. Okay, so that is the way. Otherwise, measure the outer diameter and thickness of the wire. Then the outer diameter minus thickness of the 2 times the thickness of the wire will give you the inner diameter. Then take the average. That is the mean diameter. Then small d is the wire diameter. That means that this is the wire. Then coil means the circular form in which it is wound. The diameter of that circular coil, that is called the diameter of the coil, and here the diameter of the wire. Both are required for the calculation. Then pitch means the adjacent, the distance between 2 adjacent coils, that is measured from center of the top and the center of the next bottom, just immediate coil. So that is called a small p. It is the representation for pitch. Then alpha is called the angle of helix. Then free length L0. See here. So the total length of the spring compression, if we are using, so that is total length is marked here. See, in order to find the pitch of the wire, so the distance between the 2 adjacent coil is the pitch. So when we take the single dimension, it may not be correct when we are taking. So we are taking it using the scale. For getting the accurate value of pitch, what do we do is we measure, take a considerable length. Either you take the entire length of the spring and then divided by number of turns. How many number of turns are there? So the turns, when we start from this point, left point, when we complete 1 rotation and come here, that is the number of turn 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. So within a length, that can be total length divided by total number of turns, or we can say we are taking some 5 or 6 turns and taking its length. The length divided by total number of turns will give you what is the pitch of the coil. That is to get the accurate dimension. See here, the angle of helix is shown here, that is alpha. That means the coils are not wound horizontally. The plane of coil is not horizontal. It is having a small inclination. That inclination is called the angle of helix. Angle of helix is the angle between the plane of the coil and the plane of axis of the helix. That means the helix is not wound in a horizontal plane, but at an inclination. So the angle or slope of that plane is called the angle of helix. Now, in order to find the angle of helix, we can find out these 2 parameters. That means the distance between the 2 adjacent coil and its corresponding circumference. So, P divided by 2 pi r. 2 pi r is the total length when we take from here to here. Okay. So then tan inverse of P divided by 2 pi r will give you what is the angle of helix. Based on the angle of helix, we will say whether the spring is an open coiled spring or a closed coiled spring. For a closed coiled spring, the alpha will be approximately equal to 0. Then for an open coiled spring, so the angle will be considerable. That means when we approximately we can say that when it is less than 5 degree, we will take it as a closed coiled spring, and when it is greater than 5 degree also, we will take it as an open coiled spring. So closed coiled spring is usually used as tension spring, and the open coiled spring is usually used as compression spring. See here. So when we are applying a load on the spring, depending upon this angle, so there can be 2 components. If the alpha angle is considerable, then we have the W, if the axial force that we are applying. So we know that the coil is not wound in a horizontal plane. Since it is an inclined, along an inclined plane, we can resolve this into 2 components, the W sin alpha and W cos alpha. Looking into the figure, this W sin alpha, that will produce bending moment. That means it will act as a direct axial force, and the W cos alpha will produce torsion. Then the bending moment value will be WR sin alpha, and the torsion or the torque will be WR cos alpha. Now, the equation that is used for calculating the deflection is used. So this is combining the bending as well as the torsion. That is why we have the term N and E. N is the modulus of rigidity and E is the modulus of elasticity. So the equation for finding the delta can be, so this is a derived equation, and 64W R cube N into cosecant alpha divided by D raised to 4 into cos square alpha divided by N plus 2 sine square alpha divided by E. That is the equation for finding the deflection, where W is the load that is applied, R is the radius of the coil. The radius of the coil means mean diameter we are finding, and then divided by 2 will give you the radius of the coil. N is the total number of turns in the spring that we are using. Alpha is the angle of helix. Then small d is the diameter of the wire. And N is the modulus of rigidity. Then E is the modulus of elasticity. Now, since we have N and E both are unknowns, all the other parameters we can measure. Since both these values are unknown, what we do is we express E in terms of N. So our aim is to determine the modulus of rigidity of the material. We know that the relationship between modulus of elasticity and modulus of rigidity is capital E is equal to 2N into 1 plus 1 by M, or 1 by M you may represent it as mu, the Poisson's ratio. So for steel, the Poisson's ratio is 0.3. So we can substitute 2N E is equal to 2N into 1 plus 0.3, 1.3 into 2, that is 2.6. Okay, the equation will be reduced to 64W R cube N secant alpha divided by the same equation we can find D raised to 4 into cos square alpha divided by N plus 2 sine square alpha divided by 2.6. Okay, now N is the only unknown. Now we rewrite the equation for getting the value of N, which is given by this one, 64W R cube N secant alpha divided by delta D raised to 4 into cos square alpha plus 2 sine square alpha divided by 2.6. Okay, in which all these parameters we are measuring. So we are conducting the experiment for every the load increment. What is the deflection that we are measuring? Then all the other parameters of the spring can be measured directly. Then alpha will be obtained as tan inverse of P divided by 2 pi r. Then we can calculate the value of N. Stiffness. So what we do is, instead of taking a particular value from the table, we will be plotting load deflection curve, and we will take an intercept of load and intercept of deflection. That will be substituted in the equation for getting the value of modulus of rigidity. Then the ratio of load divided by deflection will give you the stiffness of the spring. That is the calculation. Now, in this equation, when alpha is approximately 0, then what will happen? Cos square alpha is equal to 1 and sine square alpha is equal to 0. Similarly, secant alpha is equal to 1. Then this equation will be reduced to 64W R cube N divided by delta D raised to 4. This term, the final term, this one will become 1. So for closed coiled spring, the equation for finding N is equal to 64W R cube N divided by delta D raised to 4. This delta D raised to 4 etc. is because of this J and I in the bending and the torsion equation. So coming to the equipment. So these are the enlarged view of the bottom portion of the machine, in which we are fitting the compression spring. Then this hook and a hook will be provided on the top that will be used for fitting the tension spring. See here the tension spring is fitted on the top. Say the slotted weight is used to apply the load. So first of all, without any weight, that means even without this hook, we are setting the initial reading. For the tension spring, we can set the initial reading as 0 by rotating the top hook portion, and you enter the initial reading as 0 there. Okay, that means without this hook also. So after that, this first load will be the weight of this hook plus this bottom holding platform for the slotted weight. So what is the extension that can be read from this scale. Then add one more slotted weight, take the reading, and add another one, take the reading. Like that, continue till all the slotted weights are used. The weight of this slotted weight that will be can be measured using a balance, or otherwise it will be written. It is already measured and written on the slotted weight itself that you can directly use. Here the compression spring is fitted. Now coming to the calculation part. So this is the complete calculation part. The answer alone. So here see here the diameter of the wire that is directly measured using the vernier calipers for the compression spring as well as the extension or tension spring. Measure the diameter using the vernier calipers. Then mean diameter of the spring, that is here the outer diameter is, here it is written as a 30 mm, and the inner diameter is 22.92. We can directly measure it using the vernier calipers, or the outer diameter minus 2 times the thickness of the wire will give you, thickness of the wire means diameter of the wire, will give you the inner diameter. Then the mean you take D1 plus D2 by 2, that is the mean diameter of the coil. Half of that will be R. That means D1 plus D2 by 4 will be the radius of the coil, R, capital R, that is used in the equation. Similarly, for the compression spring also, the similar calculation you have to make. The number of turns in each spring. So for our spring, we have 19.5 number of turns for the tension spring and the 13.5. This 0.5 is because the number of turns, so it will not be ending. The last one will be having a fraction of the length. That is why it is 0.5. That you can verify when you see the actual spring in the lab. Then length of the spring is also measured using a scale. Then pitch is calculated, the total length divided by number of turns. Then the tan alpha you find P divided by 2 pi r. Alpha you calculate tan inverse of P divided by 2 pi r. That is the angle of helix. Then you calculate this term. So if we get a values in this, both the values are greater than 5 degrees. So we calculate the last term, secant alpha into cos square alpha plus sin square alpha divided by 2.6. That is calculated so that I can directly use this value in the equation. Okay, so this is the tabular form that we have to make. So here the serial number, then load. So 0 degree. So 0 weight. We have the initially we have the tension spring. So the initial reading is 0. Then you put the hook with its bottom portion that is having a weight of 700 gram. Then take the corresponding deflection, that is 1.5. it is written here. Now you put the initial or the slotted weight that is having a weight of 900 grams. So the total weight comes 1600 gram. Its corresponding deflection is measured. Then similarly you add on the slotted weights and take the corresponding readings. Once you reach the last slotted weight that we put, we get the value. Now what we have to do is during the unloading, what is the value, that also we have to measure, and the average we have to take, because the spring is used several times. So it may not be giving the exact value, as the loading and unloading may not give the exact value. So we will take the average of that. That is the mean value we have to take. Then this mean value is taken as the deflection for the extension spring, because we have set the initial reading as 0. Coming to the compression spring, the initial reading is not 0. Here it is a 40.1. Okay, so this should be taken as the initial reading. So for each weight, what is to be done? The initial reading is to be subtracted. That means for when we put 700 gram the hook and its base, then 41.6 is the value that we are getting. That means 41.6 minus 40.1. The last column gives the deflection 1.3. The average is 41.7, and the difference between the two, 40.4 and 41.7, it is 1.3. Similarly, for the second weight 1600 gram, the loading and unloading average value is 42.45. Then the deflection is 42.45 minus 40.0. And you should remember that don't take the difference between the adjacent readings. That is the increment when we put the slotted weight, one slotted weight, two slotted weight, like that. So that is not the value. For the complete weight that we have applied, what is the deflection that we have to get? So always subtract the initial reading from every reading that we are taking. And this is the shape of the graph that we are getting, in which we are plotting the load along the y-axis and the deflection along the x-axis. Okay, now you take one intercept, any one intercept is a level straight line. Then assuming that we will be loading to a small extent only, not to its maximum capacity. Then you take one intercept of load and one intercept of deflection. The slope of this line will be the stiffness of the spring, and this load value and deflection value can be used in the equation for finding the modulus of rigidity. Okay, now we can see how the experiment is conducted. See here, the machine is seen, the springs, the top portion, then the bottom portion. Here we see, so these are the two springs. So the spring with a hook is called the tension spring, and the other one is called the compression. See, in both the springs are wound in such a way that there is some considerable pitch for both the springs. That is why the helix angle we are getting greater than 5 degrees. So vernier calipers, then these are the slotted weights. The scale is used for measuring the length of the spring. Then we will be using the vernier calipers to measure the diameter of the coil as well as the diameter of the wire. See, here the diameter is measured. Here the outer diameter is measured. Then you can measure the inner diameter. See here, by keeping the vernier calipers inside the coil, we can measure the inner diameter also. Now we can measure the diameter of the wire. See here, the diameter of the wire is also measured. In both the springs, we have to measure these values: the outer dia, inner dia, and diameter of the wire. Now, after measuring the diameter, we have to fit the spring into the machine. First of all, we are fitting the extension spring. See here. So it is inserted into the machine. See here, and fitted on the two hooks provided. See here, we can make it as a 0. So if it is 0 now, if it is not 0, the top portion can be rotated. That means it will come down, and that can be obtained as, that will be obtained as 0. So make it 0, 0. Now you take the initial reading, take the reading as 0. Then now take the slotted weight alone. Is the screen now visible for you? Is the screen is visible for you now?
No, madam, not visible.
Okay, that is exceeded.
Yeah, now okay.
Okay. Now it is fitted. Now adjust the initial reading to 0. See here a simple scale, only linear dimensions. So when the marking that is, see here, 0 coinciding with the 0, that is the first reading. Okay, now we can read along the scale. So we have to take the reading in millimeters. Now the hook, initial hook is placed, then with a bottom piece, and its weight is 700 gram. That is fitted, and now you take the reading. Enter in the second serial number. Now you keep the next slotted weight. See here on the slotted weight, the weight is written. If it is not written, you can find it by using a balance. Take the reading. Then keep the next slotted weight. While keeping the slotted weight, you just note that there is a groove, no? So all the grooves are not coming in one line. So because when unknowingly, if we just touch it, all of them may fall down. So if you keep one groove perpendicular to the other, that will not happen. That is the only thing that should be taken, or you should take care while handling this equipment. Otherwise, it's a very simple machine. So similarly, keep on adding the slotted weights and take the corresponding readings. Okay. Then after keeping all the slotted weights, now you keep on unloading. Okay, one more is kept. So this is a very old machine. That is why we are still using this slotted weights. So the equipments that are presently available is applying the load in the form of, just like in the form of any other machine, hydraulic pressure is applied, or we can operate in current also. Here now keep the final reading that you write as such during the unloading. Now you take away one slotted weight and not the reading. Then entering from bottom to top. Go on entering from the bottom of the table to the top. Okay, so there may be a difference, a small difference between the two readings for the same weight. So that is why we go for this, taking the average. Okay. Now, after taking off all the slotted weights, we have to go for the compression spring. See here, the extension spring is removed. Then for fitting the compression spring, we have to remove that hook. Just raise it. Now insert the compression spring. Then a small cylindrical piece is put below the spring in order to adjust the height. So in this case, see here, the reading is not 0. Now you have to note down what is the initial reading. Now fit the hook, then keep the first load. Now go on taking the reading. The weights are the same that we are using for the tension spring. The first one is kept, take the reading, then first slotted weight, corresponding reading, like that. Go on keeping the slotted weights, take the readings, then finally you unload it and take the corresponding readings. Now unload it, take the reading. Okay, now our experiment is now over. So we have some doubt, you may now answer. Sorry, now you can ask me. Any doubts? So you can use the readings that is available in the presentation for the calculation and submit the records.